Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Florencia Rodriguez. I work in Logica. Today we are talking about E2 visa. I would like to introduce to our attorney Aileen Hernandez, who will speak about E2 visa, and she is the person who manage our investment team. Así que, hello, Aileen. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Florencia. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon with you. It is a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for the time today. Okay, we can start talking about E2 visa. We have some questions that our clients doing every day. Then we can start with the first one. Here we have the question: what is the E2 visa, and is it an immigrant? Yeah, I'm sorry. Is it an immigrant or not immigrant visa? Sorry.
No worries. You're doing great, Florencia. Thank you so much. So thank you once again for having me and for all of those of you who are joining us today on this live. And once again, we're talking today about the E2 visa, the investment visa. And our first question, like Florencia mentioned, is what is an E2 visa and whether this is an immigrant or non-immigrant visa. And I wanted to start off by saying that this is in fact a non-immigrant visa. So this will allow an applicant, a petitioner, to be here in the United States with a visa once it gets approved at a consular office for at least 2 years. The visa is approved mostly, in most of the cases, for 5 years, and the person will be allowed to stay in the United States for a status of 2 years. It is a non-immigrant visa, meaning that it would not provide a petitioner with a legal permanent resident in the United States. We're going to talk a little bit more later on the questions on the benefits. But one of the requirements for the E2 visa just wants to start off. I want to start off by saying that is to have that intention to always go back to your country, because in reality you're coming to invest in the United States to develop your enterprise, to control your enterprise. But at the end of the day, you always need to have that intention to go back to your home country.
This is a good point. It is the most important point. The people need to know that the intention with this type of visa. Eileen, we have another question about this process, about this type of visa that they want to invest in United States and move there. If you want to go ahead to read it.
Sure. So the next question that we have for most of our clients is what are the eligibility requirements that an applicant must meet? And there is a number of legal requirements that we need to have. First of all, there needs to be a treaty from the country that you're coming from. Let's say that you're coming from Argentina. There are different E2 treaties that the United States, investment treaties that the United States did along the years with different countries. So the first thing is that we need to make sure that there's a treaty and that the person applying, the applicant, is able to demonstrate that he or she has the nationality of that treaty country. So that would be the first requirement. Then there needs to be an investment that is actually being invested or about to be invested, that is also substantial. So it needs to be a substantial investment in the United States. It needs to be an investment that is already at risk, meaning that you already invested into this new enterprise, into this new business. The investment or the company in the United States needs not to be marginal. And what does marginality mean? Meaning that it will create enough income in the United States, the company, for the applicant and his family or her family to live in the United States, but also to be financially stable, to be able to create employment in the United States. So we need to make sure that it has enough financial stability or growth projection to be able to create those employments and have employees inside the United States. The petitioner, the applicant in this case, needs to be able to direct and develop the enterprise. So we're going to look and see what experience this person had back in their home country, what they study. So to make sure that this person is the right and capable person to develop and direct this new enterprise and investment in the United States. And once again, there needs to be that intention that I just mentioned before for that person to come grow their business. But at the end of the day, have that intention to always go back to your home country once that investment and capital has been invested and the company has been developed and directed by this person.
As you mentioned, the business needs to be like in risk, and they need to invest. They need to invest in like in a franchise and an existing business. Then, if you can say more about the type of business that they can invest.
Sure. So I do get a lot of questions. Some clients do come, Florencia, with their business in mind, but some people don't, and they want to know, what can I do, Eileen? How can I invest, or what type of businesses? And the reality, Florencia, is that they can invest in a number and different enterprises. It could be goods or it could be services, basically. So it could be any of the two. It could be an existing enterprise, or maybe they're coming with a new idea and they want to open a new business in the United States. And that's something that could also work. So, I mean, the sky is the limit. And that's also something that I do mention to my clients. Just make sure that you have an idea. Maybe you're planning on buying a franchise, or maybe you're already planning on buying a business that is already in existence in the United States, but maybe you're not. And maybe you are coming with a new idea. And I think that's basically the beauty of this type of visa, that you have so much flexibility about on how you can invest and how you can create your business. So, I mean, just come with an idea. We can sit down. Basically, is it is a good or a service, and that's basically the main requirement. But it could be anything that you really think, as long as it meets those goods or services requirements. I think you're muted, Flor.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
Harry is joining us. Hello, Harry. How are you doing today?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. All right, I'm glad that we got the meeting going on this E2 matter.
Thank you. We are talking about E2 visa. We are talking about different questions that we have. We are going to the next one, and here we have the next question. Eileen, if you want to read it.
Sure. So the next question, and this is usually one of those questions that I get for many of my clients as well, is what happens when there are two partners investing in the same business and both of them want to migrate to the United States with an E2 visa. So basically, it is the same system. It is the same requirements for each of them. So we have to prove, and we need to do a different two petitions, one for each investor, and they each need to meet the substantial amount. It needs to be invested. We need to prove that the company is real and operating, that is not marginal. They both need to have that intention that I've been mentioning to go back to their home country. So we need to do two separate petitions, even though it's the same business, but each one is applying individually to for this type of visa, basically.
And that's an excellent point, an excellent question too, because many people sometimes think that there's only one petition and then two people are applying. And so that's so what Eileen is differentiating is a very important point. It's two separate petitions, and each person has to do their own investment. So it's not like it's just one they'll pull their money together and say, well, here we have the substantial amount. It's really each person has to put in their own substantial amount, because it's going to be two separate petitions.
Perfect. Great. We have another question about this type of process. Eileen, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. So the next question that we have on screen is, what is the process for a renewal? And basically, when you're renewing Florencia, it is the same process. We're going to have to do a petition, and the same petition with the same requirements. The officer or the consular, whichever one, if we're doing a change of status or we are doing a consular process, is going to look a little bit more at the real and operating to make sure and see what happened in the last 2 years or the last 5 years with the company. They're going to want to see taxes, history of employment, payrolls. They want to make sure that this company has been, in fact, operating. Remember that we do have to have a business plan when we initially applied, that we're giving immigration with the petition, basically a projection for the next 5 years. So they want to make sure, and they want to know what happened in the last 5 years in this case, or the last 2 years if they're doing a change of status. So we're going to have to prove substantial investment, and maybe there was more investment into the company, marginality to make sure that there is employment, projection, taxes, but they're going to be looking more into or focusing more into the real and operating and marginality portion of that petition. But at the end of the day, we have to do a new petition. We have to submit that petition, and based on that new petition is whether the applicant or petitioner, in this case, whoever is applied, will be given the new visa, the new E2 visa.
And essentially, this means that an extension of this E2 status can be given almost perpetually, so long as the marginality test and the investment has actually been made throughout those last 5 years. And so there is no real end unless our countries the E2 treaty country and the United States decides to end the agreement, like it's happened in the past. For example, a few years ago with France, there was a decision that instead of giving them a 5-year visa, they would only get 2. That was kind of an interesting change. And other things like that have happened in Latin America, Ecuador being one of them. So one of those countries that have been affected similarly.
That's right.
Perfect. We have another question. I think is the last one. If you want to go ahead, Harry.
The benefits of applying for an E2 visa, there are several. Okay, so first off, we need to think about the fact that we're opening up this market, the United States, for your business. So certainly you're coming into the world's largest economy and the 3rd largest in terms of population, but the 1st largest in terms of the economy. So that's the first benefit, right? The second, now to go very specific to you, to the individual benefit, is that the investor not only has the right to run the business, but the spouse of the investor has the right to work in the United States anywhere that spouse has an opportunity. So let's say, for example, we have let's say it's a restaurant that opens up in Florida. The investor has the obligation to run that business, but the spouse of that investor can go work for somewhere else, whether it's maybe a local store or work in his or her profession. That's a huge benefit because then the spouse can help contribute to the household income. The children can go to school at our public schools, to our public and private schools. And I would say that going to the public schools is the greater benefit, because not only do we have very strong schools in many areas of the country, but because they're public, they're paid for taxpayers. So it's not a cost you have to pay out of pocket. And that's a huge benefit. Many times we will encounter clients who will come as tourist visas and enroll their children in our public schools or even in private schools, but that's a violation because they're supposed to be tourists. But under the E2 visa, those children have the right to go to school in the United States, and the spouse has the right to work. I would say that's one of the strong immediate benefits that they need to consider. And of course, ultimately, it's running your business in a market where you can produce a lot more money. And the reason you're putting your money here is probably because you don't have the same market opportunities that the United States provides. So if you are an investor, you're welcome to the United States. Come help build our economy. And that's the whole purpose of this. You bring your wealth here, we help you grow it, and you help create opportunities for our American workers as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Harry, for all the information. Okay, we don't have more questions, but I don't know if someone have a few questions. Anything else? Eileen, do you want to add anything? Harry?
Maybe just to add to the benefits that Harry was mentioning, it's also the family getting a Social Security with the E2 visa, and that's something that's a benefit of being here in the United States. They do have an opportunity for the applicant and the spouse to get a Social Security number, and I know that opens a lot of doors for applying for medical insurance or many other things that they do need to have a social for. So basically, that's another benefit that I would add to Harry's list. But there's a number of benefits. Like Harry mentioned, this is a great opportunity for investors to come into the United States, and it is a great opportunity for them as far as getting that visa and that opportunity to grow and financialize, do a business here and being able to diversify their capital and grow a business in the United States.
Perfect. And thank you. And if you want to schedule a meeting with our team, and if you have any questions, you can contact us. I think that's all for today. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Eileen, for your time and for all the information that we talked today.
All right. Thank you so much, Florencia. Thank you so much, Eileen. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.